Hello everybody, so today I want to introduce you to two new concepts that are very important in music, upbeats and ties. The reason I put these two in the same video is because these two concepts are more abstract than some of the other topics we have covered, such as dotted rhythm and rest. So let's start with upbeat. Many pieces of music, including the few examples we did previously, all have something in common, and that is they always start on the first beat of the measure. For example, this passage starts right away on the first beat of measure 1. Now, of course it makes sense to start on beat 1 of the passage, but in real music, that is not always the case. You will find that many music don't actually start on the first beat. For example, a lot of music actually starts on the last beat of the measure. Some also starts on the second last beat, but those are not as common as the ones that start on the last beat. Here is an example. So as you can see, instead of starting on beat 1, this piece actually starts on beat 4. In real music score, however, the previous 3 beats will not be notated in rest, and that's why you have this one note sticking out by itself. And in music, the term that describes the last beat of a measure like this guy here is called an upbeat. Here is another example with a different time signature. As you can see, upbeats don't have to be just one note. As long as the combined duration of the notes add up to the last beat, then it's acceptable. So here, since our time signature is 3/4, it means that each measure is made up of 3 quarter notes. Therefore, the duration of the last beat is just 1 quarter note, and that's why we can use 2/8 note for this upbeat. And if you have had or will have any band or orchestra experiences, you often hear the conductor say something like, "Start playing from the pickup to measure 6." And of course what they mean is start playing right here, hence the last beat of measure 5, or the beat that immediately precedes measure 6. And again, this beat is called upbeat or pick up to measure 6. Now, music in many ways needs to be balanced. So if we have a beat that's sticking out by itself at the beginning of a piece, it sort of ruins the overall balance in terms of rhythm and meter. So to compensate for this, the rule is that we must take away the last beat of the last measure in the piece. So for example, here the time signature is 4/4, and we started on an upbeat. What we need to do now is go to the last measure and take away 1 beat. So you will end up with only 3 beats or 3 quarter notes for the last measure. The reason we do this is because if you actually add the upbeat at the beginning to our last measure, something truly magical will happen, and that is you will end up with a complete measure with all 4 beats. And this makes the music balanced once again. Although we're just learning the basic definition, upbeat is a very, very important element in music. Upbeats can help you identify certain music genre. It can also give you a sense of direction, momentum, and even hints of musical expressions. So if you keep watching my videos, you will hear the word upbeat a lot. So let's move on to our next concept, ties. So how ties work is actually very straightforward, but the notation can be very misleading. A tie only occurs when you have 2 exact notes that are connected with a slur, and slur in music just means this little curvy line. So this is a tie, and this is also a tie. The 2 notes must be the same, so this is not a tie. In fact, this is something called a legato, which is very different from a tie. Also, this is not a tie. It must be 2 adjacent notes connected with a line. So the way tie works is that instead of playing the second note of the pair, all you need to do is play the first note and hold it through the second note. So let me illustrate this through this example. The first passage doesn't have a tie, so it goes like this, ta, ta, ta. Now, for the second passage, we have a tie for the last 2 notes. Now, instead of playing it like this, ta, 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 we now play it like this, ta, ta. As you can hear, all I'm doing is I'm playing the first note of the tie and hold it through the second note. At first, you might have trouble with this, but a great way to help is to hum the second note or to play it in your head. So let's look at this more complicated example. The first passage has no ties and it's actually pretty simple. So it goes like this. Ta, 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 ta. Now, in the second passage, we add ties to it, so things became harder. Let's first circle the notes we should not be playing again. So this one and this one. Now, when you're playing the second passage, think about the first passage where there are no ties, and instead of playing the two circle notes out loud, try to play them in your head. So the second passage goes something like this. Ta, 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 ta. Now, it's very important for musicians to master how to play a tie because this is actually an extremely common compositional technique used by all composers. As your music study gets more advanced, you will encounter concepts such as suspension and syncopation, and all of these concepts will be using ties a lot. So just to give you a taste of what ties can do musically, let's listen to this Corelli violin sonata. And this sonata is actually full of ties and suspensions.